are doing it. We are live. Welcome, everybody, to Good People, Good Movies. I am your host, Mark Yodi Reilly, otherwise known as Reilly, and thank you for making Good People Association, the GPA, part of your day. It is Tuesday, a big Tuesday, 4 p.m. Pacific. We are going live here at the GPA, Good People Association, live in Burbank in our home studios. The Hawaiian hunk is here. Ikaika, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing good. I'm ready to talk some movies.
Ready to talk some movies. That's right. We got a lot of movie news actually coming our way. Some Indiana Jones 5 casting news, as well as the return of John Williams for Indiana Jones 5, directed by not Steven Spielberg, James Mangold is going to be coming in and doing that. We have a new Star Trek movie happening. They finally dated something. But some of the big news that's happening today that we're going to get to, my favorite movie theater, Arclight Cinemas in Hollywood. All over L.A., they're closing down the big one. It happened. Arclight and Pacific theaters, the Grove, another area that I used to go to, some big movie theaters, they're closing. They're feeling the weight of COVID. And now there's a movement happening on Twitter, as I noticed that there's a lot of people retweeting Save the Cinerama Dome, which is Cinerama Dome, a staple for the Los Angeles theater scene, years and years and years in the process over there on Sunset Boulevard at Vine is a favorite place of mine. I'm hoping that maybe, I know somebody on Twitter, Ikaka, said, Brad Pitt, please save the Cinerama Dome. Maybe there'll be some, deep pockets that come about. We'll get into that. I do want to talk about that. That's a big story, as well as everything else. But I do want to tease some things and do some housekeeping up here. The GPA.fun, if you go there right now, you can join our membership tier. If you want to do that, we have our live hangs that we do almost every week. We do some additional content that is behind the paywall. And if you sign up for our bucket club, you get, that's right, a bucket, a glass that says the GPA on it. You can drink with us. There's also some special live events coming. We are having a number of things that we're planning right now, including a live stream that's going to be happening this April. More on that later. But a big thing that I do want to talk about is we have a big announcement coming. This show and Reilly's Cantina are two shows very dear to me. I'm a host on both of them. But we're going to be doing something special with them and inviting somebody in to help take those shows to the next level. Now, I don't have confirmation yet, but I'm teasing. That's what we do here at the GPA. Teasing a big announcement that is hopefully going to happen this week. I am so excited. I've been working on something for Reilly's Cantina, for Good People, Good Movies, and I'm so excited to share it with you. So I want everybody to just stay tuned to this space. Hit that like button if you haven't already. Come and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and go check out the GPA.fun. For all your information here about the Good People Association and what we have to offer here in the months to come, the years to come, and all that good stuff. And the last thing I want to mention is I have this guy, right? This guy that I know, that I used to be a teammate with on the movie trivia Schmoedown. And now he's he's a dastardly one, isn't he? He's a despicable one. But I still call him my friend. After all this, I still call him my friend. He is a musician that has a new song coming out right now in the link in the description here on Spotify. You can go check it out. He is a host. He is a competitor. He is a hell of a guy, and his name is Ben Bateman, and he is joining me now here as my guest on Good People, Good Movies, and he's a good person too. My friend Ben Bateman. How are you, dude?
Oh, he's going to bring in the laugh. Dastardly person. What's going on, Riley? How are you, my friend? It's good to...
We have to put the juxtaposition of character, I guess, right? Is you are a good person.
I've got a giant head. I've got a huge head. It's just going on.
That's right. That's right.
This looks like a scene in Ghostbusters, man. I'm about to eat you or something.
Yeah, he's Vigo, the Carpathian. It's like you got that big, big head there. That's fine. My friend, how are you doing? So I kind of want to start here. You are obviously a movie lover. You're a movie fan. You are a movie trivia wizard. I guess wizard is a good way to put it. We've had some runs of our own time in the movie trivia Schmoedown as the team Who's the Boss, former team. You're making a run you've had a good match in your first debut match of the year against me.
It's a good one.
It was a good one. You can go check it out over there on the SEN network, over there on YouTube, Movie Trivia Schmoedown. But Ben, what I want to get to right away is just tell me about how you segued into music. You've always been a musician, but I have it here now in the link of our description here, folks. Ben Bateman has released his very first single. And you can get that right now. Sorry for Tonight. It's over there on Spotify. Ben Bateman, you sent it to me at a particularly low point in my life, and I listened to it. I cried a bit. I was like, holy shit. Sorry, I'm going to curse a little bit. But it's a fantastic debut single, so tell me a little bit about it. And for those of you good people who haven't met Ben Bateman yet, here he is. Please open your ears and tell us a little bit, Ben, about how you came to this song and how you got it out there, and what was the event like this past weekend where you got to do it live for a number of people.
Yeah, it was awesome, man. It was an incredible show this last Saturday. I was very fortunate. I felt a lot of really supportive people were excited, and I got to, Christian Harloff is one of our mutual friends, kind of helped promote the show a little bit. And so it sold out. I had to add a bunch of extra tickets, which was really cool.
That's great.
The song itself, came out on the Monday. It's been out for just over a week now, and the response has been really strong. I think whenever you do something artistically, creatively that you believe in, you expect your friends will support you. And you'll have a certain number of people outside of that group,
Sure.
with follow. We're in the public sphere, so there's people. Some people follow you.
Yep.
But I think you just sort of expect that people will have that reaction they have, which is like, cool, congratulations, and that's the last you ever hear of it. Yeah. It's because that's what we do to so many people who create. That's the nature. It's the cycle of creation. It's not very often something stands out to you and you want to talk about it with someone,
Sure.
And so like the description of the song you just described and the way you told me that it affected you so personally, I've had a lot of really, really wonderful people reach out and a lot of positive support. And that's been a unique thing. I'd never experienced that before as an artist. I'd never had that kind of response. And so it was great, man. It was really, really cool to see, it got streamed a lot of times in its first week.
That's great.
And the crazy part was that people were listening to it on average 6 times each, which was that was the thing that really blew my mind on Spotify. Was people were claiming to listen to it on repeat, actually were listening to it on repeat. So maybe it's the only time I'll ever put out a song that has this kind of reaction. I really have no idea, but it was a first for me, and it was really special, and it was a really encouraging week and a reminder of why you create, why you're a writer, why I'm a writer of music. It's why we do this stuff,
Yeah, man.
You want to affect people.
You do, and there's some people in here. It's good. It's a great song. Kelly W. dropping a big heart emoji. Ben is awesome and even cooler and nicer in person, says Haskell420. And so many people just saying congrats. Yeah, I love the song, man. It got me. It's catchy and it's true. It felt like the lyrics were like, I've been going through a hard time certain days, and this one got me. And I'm proud of you, my friend, and I'm glad to have you here. Talking movies. I know we were talking a little bit of music ahead of here, but I know you're a big movie guy. We'll get there.
Man.
But, man, this is great. So please, everybody, go check out. There's a link in the description right now. Sorry for Tonight is the name of the single. You wrote it yourself. Any extra songs in that head of yours that you're working on now, Ben? What's going on? What's your next great song that you're planning on, or do you even know yet?
Well, the album is going to come out this summer. It'll be out probably July is the goal right now. I'm going to hit the road and go on tour in August.
Nice.
The plan right now is to do like 9-10 dates.
That's
I'm
fantastic.
looking currently like Chicago, New York, Seattle, Los Angeles, San Francisco, Austin, Nashville, probably Atlanta, Orlando. I think that's the current lineup, but I might swap a few of those out depending. Trying to get a sense of where people are, who would actually show up. But
that's incredible, man. That's incredible.
Yeah, I'm really excited. So I'm doing that. I've got it. The whole album is written. I've got a ton of songs that I've looked at and considered, and a lot of them are recorded already. I do this. This is actually a funny one. I can tell you this. You'll enjoy this. I used to do a show on Nerds and Suits called Song from the Scene, where I would take a song from a movie that I really liked, and I would break down the scene in which the song plays, and then I would perform the song. And I got really busy, so I stopped doing it. But I'm bringing it back this week.
Nice.
And I'm bringing it back this week, and I almost just want to give you 30 seconds of it because I feel like you'll really enjoy this.
Give me 30 seconds of it because people are asking for your actual song for me to play it right now, and it's like as much as I'd love to do that, I just don't. I don't think we can. But like, let's get a little taste of what you got going for it. So this is something from a movie.
Oh yeah, and this is one Josh Macuga will love too.
Okay, good.
It goes like this. We're not indestructible. Baby, better get that straight. I think it's unbelievable how you're given to the hands of fate. Some things are worth fighting for. Some feelings never die.
Oh,
I'm not asking for another chance. I just want to know why. There's no easy way out.
Yeah.
There's no shortcut home.
Yeah.
There's
Wait a minute.
no easy way out. That's one of my favorites.
This is big. That's big 80s flavor right there.
Yeah.
What is it? Why can't I remember this song? What is it from?
Dude, that's Rocky 4.
There it
and
is.
It's when, it's Rocky 4, and he's remembering all the memories. It's after Drago kills Apollo.
That's right.
He's
That's right.
dude.
And he's going through all the visions, and he's like, oh God, and he's like fighting in the car with himself because he's thinking about it all.
Dude.
Yeah. That's great.
So
Look
I
at
feel like
people
that's a
already
good-
just doing Rocky 4. They got it. They got it.
They got it
right
right
away.
away.
They got it. Well, that's great. That's
Yeah.
fantastic. Please go. Like I said, the links are in the description for everybody who wants to get to know Ben Bateman, get to know some of his music, get to know some of his projects. You can do so by there in the link in the description.
Thank you, sir.
My
I very much appreciate it.
Yeah, my pleasure, my friend. So let's get to some of this big movie news because it's been one of the bigger weeks for movie news because we don't get a lot of it with this pandemic. But I do want to start with some positives. We'll get to some of the main topic stuff that you and I are really affected of because it's the tease is Arclight. More on that later. But I want to talk about Indiana Jones 5 because I was really excited to see that Fleabag creator Phoebe Waller-Bridge was cast as a co-lead.
Yep.
Phoebe Waller-Bridge is one of my favorite artists working. Fleabag, the pilot. I read that before I saw the actual series, and it's one of the best written, best just like concepts. It was just a wonderful, wonderful pilot. And then I blew through Fleabag. I've fallen in love with her as an actress. I loved her, even though I didn't love Solo, the movie itself, as much. I liked her take on the droid. I loved the character itself. I wonder what Phoebe Waller-Bridge is going to be in this movie other than just a great addition. What are your thoughts on the casting?
So I don't know Phoebe Waller-Bridge particularly well. I did see Solo. I'm very aware of Fleabag. I know that, obviously her involvement with No Time to Die as a writer was something that people were very excited about.
Yeah, that's another one.
She's a high-class collaborator, I think is sort of the best way to describe her.
Yeah.
Very, very high EV right now if you put Phoebe Waller-Bridge on a project. But I also think that this movie is really unique and it's in a funny place. I think you and I have talked about it before. I'm not the biggest indie guy in general.
No, I know. It's one of your biggest failures and faults, but that's okay.
I've seen them all.
I've
seen them many times.
Yeah.
And I've even revisited them just so I can have a little bit more clearer. It's like I want to like them more than I do.
Yeah.
But where I see the strength of this movie, Mark, is that James Mangold, who is one of my absolute favorite directors, had such a great take on an aging hero with Logan that if he can get some of that energy and he can cast 78-year-old Harrison Ford back into this role and he can kind of close out, hopefully.
Yeah.
Hopefully this is the last time Ford does it. I even find Crystal Skull to be distracting that he's like older. I find his age to be distracting.
Yeah.
Not because he's old. It just doesn't represent the character that I feel like I'm used to watching. So this one, I really don't know what to expect here.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think he's a great director for this. And I think she represents a lot of youth that should be alongside him. I mean, what kind of character do you think she's going to be in this movie?
I don't know. I know she's one of those actresses that can just play it straight, I feel, because there's great moments of levity in Fleabag. Brevity, I should say, that is just very, very, some heated stuff happening in there. So she can pull off dramatic. It's Indiana Jones, though, so you're going to need some quips. You're going to need some fun. You're going to need some, jumping from train to truck with some kind of catchphrase. I don't know.
Right.
But
right.
I want to go back to you, Rich, because we don't know, and I love casting, but it's like it's kind of an endless game of catching your tail when you're like, well, who's she going to play? And especially if it's a Star Wars movie. You're like, oh, my God, she's a Jedi. She's a Sith. She's an Empire. Whatever. This one is a little harder. She's not, I'm not assuming. I don't know where we're going to be at as far as where they're going to place the timeline because Indiana Jones, puts it obviously famously back in the past. But Nazis, Russians, who's our villain? Can't really go there yet. We don't know. But Phoebe Waller-Bridge, I think she's going to be a fantastic addition to the franchise. But I want to talk about the age in James Mangold because that's what continues to get me excited for this, Ben. Mangold is one of the most fantastic directors of his generation. He's one of my favorites now. Logan, to me, is a masterpiece. It really is. It's one of those movies that transcends the genre and becomes something that people keep talking about over and over and over again. And I did not even think, not even put two and two together. He did the aging superhero, the last run for Logan, X-Men, Wolverine. We got the last one, the last run for Indiana Jones. He can do this well. He can do this well.
Yeah. Mangold's a guy that has made all different varieties of movies in all different genres for a long time, and they're not all great. I mean, let's call a spade here. You know, Night and Day is not my favorite movie. I think the Wolverine is pretty forgettable. You try to go all the way back to the beginning, and some of that stuff like
Kate and Leopold.
Kate and Leopold, right? There's a few of those movies in there that are not as good, but his wins, like Logan, like Walk the Line, like 3:10 to Yuma. I'm a big Copland guy.
Copland.
I mean, those are all movies I really, really like.
Ford versus Ferrari.
Oh yeah, Ford Ferrari is one of my favorites. That movie was
that was one of the best movies of the year. Yeah.
Yeah. So he's a guy. I also think he's at a point in his career right now. I think he's found his sweet spot these last few.
Yeah.
Feels like he has a greater kind of grasp or identity on the types of movies that he wants to be making. So hopefully this is kind of a weightier movie. You know, the one thing I'm worried about that I really hope doesn't happen is that I hope the studio doesn't get involved in this movie and tries to tone down some of the grit or darkness that I think I really want to see out of it. I want this movie to have some more real stakes, some actual weight.
Yeah. Well, you know, it's interesting you bring that up because I automatically think of Logan. It had some real weight to it, some stakes, some grit. It was R-rated. I mean, the fact that Wolverine stabs a guy in the face with his claws in slow motion, no less. Guys, just like
I'm gonna sit down here while you talk.
No worries. There is some, and that was Fox, that was Disney. Sure, Disney bought it. We are getting. I love that he sat down as a little person now. But you're right. We're gonna get some. I think Mangold's tendency is to show raw human emotion, especially at the end of somebody's journey. I think of Logan. I think of Hugh Jackman's Logan. I would love to see that. I would love to see him go a little bit darker with Indiana Jones, and I think it calls for it. Steven Spielberg leaves the franchise. He's probably a producer. He probably has a lot of say in it. I was really, really bummed at first. But then you did bring up Crystal Skull. Crystal Skull was just a misfire, in my opinion, and I think that had more to do with Lucas, to be honest with you, because he was really pushing for that story in particular. And it was kind of playing with that whole, like, Shia LaBeouf maybe taking over the reins or the whip, as it were. So this is different. This feels a little bit different. Mangold gets me excited, though. So I hope Disney does let him go with a little bit of grit, a little bit of darkness, a little bit of show what it is for Indy to, you know, this is his greatest adventure now. The greatest adventure is him, the twilight of Indy's life. I mean, let's be real. That is, he's at the end of his life. What does that do to a man that has seen everything? That's what's interesting to me.
I think also the difference between Spielberg and Mangold is like Spielberg's heyday, like when he was at his best, his characters are often, they're very good natured. They're very PG-13. They're often looking for fun. They're good, like kind-hearted people.
Right.
They feel like they play to a youthful audience really well. They always have. That's been Spielberg's greatest strength. I think about the characters that Mangold likes to use, and so often his characters have this really kind of like 1970s American masculinity that's, I think, something that I want to see Harrison Ford in this character of Indy own as he's older. He's a guy from a forgotten time. I mean, the end of his life, if they're going to be playing Indy at a much older age, and they have to make this set a little bit later, I want him to be a little old-fashioned. I want him to be a little bit like, you know, he remembers the good old days, and like there's something that I think Mangold knows how to do there that I am excited to see.
Right. You know, if anybody can capture that kind of wandering spirit, maybe Indy's wandering. Maybe he finds himself alone because of all of his great adventures. We don't know where he's going, but I do love that idea. I love that idea that that Mangold could really go into the character. Some people in the chat going, R-rated Indy? Yeah, it won't be R-rated. It'll be probably PG-13, I would think. I think they could go there.
Chat's not loving my opinion on Indy. No one ever does. That's one I gotta just stop sharing. People never like when I say that.
Yeah. You should probably get. You know, I would say start lying and just you love Indiana Jones. You grew up with the movies. They're great. I mean, Crystal Skull. Yeah, it's fine. But that's all right. Yeah, Indiana Jones 5, Mangold directing, Phoebe Waller-Bridge joining. That's an exciting time. We'll see what Disney does with it. The other bit of news that's kind of a no-brainer, John Williams returning. I mean, I don't think you could do a Star Wars movie or an Indiana Jones movie or anything that he's ever done in the past without having John Williams. Does it surprise you he's coming back, or are you just excited like we all are?
I mean, that's one part of those movies that I think he always just nails is that stuff. So, but then again, Jurassic Park, he didn't come back necessarily for the later installments. So,
right.
It still works to have other talented people, but it does feel like for a character like Indy, if this is going to be the last one, they close it out, then I think having him involved is that's a pretty special one. Now,
let me ask everybody, and including you, Ben, the question du jour. The question that everybody has been asking since the reveal that we're getting a 5th Indiana Jones, when we're wondering, can he do it? He's Harrison Ford. Yeah, he's landed planes on golf courses before in real life. He is somebody that is like, Harrison Ford winked at me once, and I questioned my own sexuality. I love this man so much. And I cannot see Indiana Jones as anybody else. But will we get a new Indiana Jones? And I want everybody in the chat to chime in on this. And by the way, we have some Streamlabs coming in here and some Super Chats. Super Chats, Streamlabs, always welcome. They help keep the lights on. We put portions to donations for charity. So your Super Chats and your Streamlabs will be answered if you have any questions about movies, any of the topics we're talking about here. For Ben and myself, we will get to them about halfway through the show here in about 15 minutes or so. Streamlabs.com/goodpeoplegpa. You can get them there. So I want to know, everybody, who should be Indiana Jones next? Should it be James Bond-ish, meaning we get a new actor every once in a while, and the series continues, or is this the last one? This is it? Nobody can do Indy. Retire it, and let's just walk off into the sunset and look for an arc somewhere in the sand. What do you think, Ben?
What do I want to see versus what I think will happen?
Yeah. That's a good way to do
it. There will be an Indiana Jones movie or series, no question. And somebody else is going to play Indy. It's going to happen.
Yeah.
It's like a foregone conclusion. And they'll try. They'll find their Alden Ehrenreich or some guy like that. They'll try, or maybe they'll find a bigger star or somebody who's established. But whatever it is, it's going to happen because there's money left on the table otherwise.
Right.
I don't think every franchise needs that. I would rather see the character of Indiana Jones put to bed. I think about some classic performers who did a great job with a character who like later on got recast, and it's like, are any of us really happy that Steve Martin was the Pink Panther? Are any of us happy about that ever happened?
Right.
Like, I'm not.
Yeah.
I wish those movies had never existed. And it's obviously Peter Sellers had passed, but even so, I just don't think that every single character needs to get recast, because so often they're just going to be trying to do an impression, or they're just going to try to do their own thing, and it's going to be terrible. It's so hard to do that the right way.
Yeah, a lot of people in the chat right now saying no, Indiana Jones is not James Bond, so no, Harrison Ford's is Indiana Jones. No, it ends with Ford. Curbside Prophet in here with a super chat though. Thank you, my friend, for this. Sebastian Stan? ? Seems like now every time there's a young Luke Skywalker, now Harrison Ford, fill in the blank, Sebastian Stan is called up. And I love that, though.
The Skywalker thing makes sense because he kind of has the same look, but I don't think it makes as much sense for Harrison Ford,
Well, I do bring up film history, and I bring up the impetus behind Indiana Jones. And that was Spielberg celebrating with George Lucas the release of Star Wars 1977 and Close Encounters. And they go for a vacation on the beach in Hawaii. And they're sitting there, Spielberg and Lucas. So the story goes. This is what I've heard over the many years. They're sitting there building sandcastles, and they go, and I think Steven Spielberg goes, I want to do Bond. I want to make a James Bond movie. And George Lucas looks at him and goes, I have something better. Indiana Smith. It's an archaeologist, and he's a professor, and he goes on adventures. And Spielberg goes, great, I love it, except the name. Change it to Indiana Jones, and that's the rest is history. But that's kind of the impetus behind it was James Bond, and that maybe this could be a serialized adventure. Every movie's different, doesn't connect. Each movie is different than before. It's not like James Bond. So that's where I go to. I wonder if that's something that even people could get behind after the initial, ugh. But you need somebody like, who came after Sean Connery? It was Sean Connery, then it was who?
Well, it was first. I mean, the permanent replacement was Roger Moore, but
Roger Moore,
the one George Lazenby.
George
did the one
Lazenby
film.
for on Her Majesty's Secret Service, and then
Yeah.
Connery comes back, and then Moore comes in, and then we're kind of off and running. It's hard to take the time frame of that, or go back in time and without social media, and pool the people that might have been upset about. I mean, there wasn't anybody making videos on Roger Moore's not my James Bond. It's
right.
so you wonder what the collective movie-going public felt about it. It was like, no, I'm never watching James Bond again. Sean Connery's the only one. Or if Roger Moore was like, yeah, that's great. So we'll see. We'll see what Hollywood. This is what Hollywood does. They make money, and if it makes a lot of money, then yes. Ikaika, you have something. I see the paddle.
I see a way that this could work, that Disney could go around, is they could just reboot like the Young Adventures of Indiana Jones and have like a 19-year-old for like a season or two, and just like do that, and then don't do movies. I do agree though that it is very much like a mythos of James Bond, where everything's so supernatural. All these are stories that are kind of like a little overboard, because I mean, every movie has a ridiculous scene. I feel like they could do every 3 movies like a different actor or whatever, but give it like 10, 15 years before you do anything.
I see a lot of that in there. And Curbside Prophet again with the super chat. Thank you, my friend. Sebastian is just a new character taking over series, no more indie. Actually, that is something, Ben, that a lot of people have said, like, great, continue the franchise, not as indie, new character. Do they get introduced in this movie like they tried to do with Crystal Skull? They tried to make Shia LaBeouf the heir apparent. You know, the hat flips over to him and he goes to pick it up, and Harrison Ford's like, "Not yet, kid," and then walks out.
Right.
Like, I don't know if that's something that they want to do, but I'm with the chat. I do like the idea of a new character. But guess what? I think it's interesting. We could get a Disney Plus Young Indiana Jones series recast. We have some people here. Brendan Truitt here. Don't forget about Sean Patrick Flannery as young Indy, a la that. Not necessarily Sean Patrick Flannery, but a new, younger actor. We get a Disney Plus series that takes place before the events of all the movies we know. I could see that happening as well. That's a go-to that they do.
Yeah. A new character is definitely a much, much better idea. I mean, the thing is, even when you go with the new character model, right, depending on the franchise you're talking about, so they tried to introduce Bran, Jeremy Renner, to Mission Impossible, thinking that maybe he would be the guy to take over. But I think we all kind of agree that you can't really imagine anybody but Cruise doing that. At the same time, you think about Jason Bourne. They decided they were going to try to bring in Renner there. And it kind of worked, but not really. So then they brought back Matt Damon. Like, it's very hard to get audiences to buy into new actor, same franchise, different character, because that franchise has to have real, like what are they going to do when Fast and the Furious is over? Supposedly there's only one more movie. How are they going to? Those movies make $1 billion.
Yeah, if that movie makes $1 billion, that next Fast and Furious, they're going to just do another one, and hopefully it'll be in space, and hopefully they'll run into Jason, and that'll be a movie that I want to see. Finally. But we shall see. So it's interesting to consider. I wonder what all you in the chat and everybody watching at home, put it in the comments if you're catching this on a repeat or a review and not here live. I would love to know what you guys think. Should we get a new Indiana Jones, continue the franchise, and or should we just get a new actor, new character in the Indiana Jones world, and we move on from there? It's hard to say. It's hard to say because those movies really, except for Crystal Skull, the 3 Indiana Jones movies are my childhood. They're just absolutely my childhood. Raiders of the Lost Ark I watched endlessly. Temple of Doom, I remember the poster standing out front going, "Indy's back," and he's holding a machete. And then I watched him as they eat monkey brains and stuff. I'm like, this is the greatest movie of all time. And then the third one, they bring Sean Connery. Oh man, that's what I'm talking about.
I used to think that the third one was my favorite of the 3.
Mine too.
When I was a kid, I always remembered Crusade as being my favorite of the 3. But I have to be honest with you, when I watched all 3 of them kind of recently, I kind of think I like Temple of Doom the most.
That's a damn fine answer. I have.
It's kind of silly, but
I have tremendous respect for people who go to Temple of Doom as their favorite because it is so dark. It is Lucas going through a divorce, so he writes this like, "F this, we're eating insects and monkey brains," and it's getting real dark. And I like that about
I think if Kate Capshaw hadn't been in that movie, that movie might be actually considered the best of the 3. It's just possible. but she single-handedly brings down the batting average by like 25%.
She's an acquired taste for it. I think it's probably the many years of seeing this movie that I cannot see this movie without her. But I get it. John Lestrina, right. Thank you here from my friend for putting the super chat. I saw your comment before that. Did my Fast Saga senses go off? Yes, they sure did. He went, wait a minute. We're talking Fast and Furious now? We are, John Lestrina. Thank you for that, my friend. I appreciate the super chat. Streamlabs.com/goodpeoplegpa if you want to get some questions in there. Super chats always help, and we will answer those as we go. All your donations, of course, go to help keep the lights on here at the GPA, and also portions go to donations every single week to charities of our choosing. It's a horrible world out there sometimes, and we are trying to do something different here at the GPA, so anything helps. We appreciate it so much. Ben, let's go into the next kind of topic here because I want to get your take. Just real quick, Army of Dead, the new trailer dropped. Did you get to see it? Zack Snyder's movie for Netflix. The gamblers playing, all this stuff is going on, and then millions and millions of zombies. What did you think of this movie, or at least the trailer?
I did not watch the new trailer. I watched the last trailer.
Tell me about the last trailer. Yeah. The new trailer just came out. Sorry, I know I didn't put it on our rundown because it came out before I sent the list. But I wanted to see if you saw it and everybody to get the chime in on the chat here. What'd you guys think of the Army of Dead trailer? But, Ben, what'd you think of the first one? Because we can get it off there.
I thought that the first one looked awesome. But the thing is, Zack Snyder's movies so often do look awesome. They've never not looked awesome. That's what they're great at, is looking awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Even the bad ones look awesome. Like
true.
He's the best at that. So, it definitely it's something that I'm going to watch. I think at this point as a director, he has earned my attention to I'll watch whatever he puts out because I know his attention to detail and his visual imagery is so incredible. I think I like the cast in this movie a lot.
Yeah.
Anytime I get to see Batista in anything, I'm a pretty big fan.
Yeah. He looks great.
I'm looking forward to that. And yeah, I hope it's good. I love Dawn of the Dead, right? That's he does a great job with that movie.
It's one of my favorite Snyder movies, next to Man of Steel, to be honest with you. Yeah, I love that movie. Steel, yeah. It's a great one. So everybody in the chat, yes, zombies, tigers, nuff said, says David Taylor. Yeah, there's you ever see Siegfried and Roy over there in Vegas, Ben Bateman?
Never have, no.
Okay, but they have tigers, right? You knew about the tigers?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Yeah. It's awesome. I'm all for it, man. I'm a huge Zack Snyder fan right now, man. That the Justice League cut that he did, I loved. I love that he's just getting. I don't like some of the stuff that happened to get his Justice League out there, but I love that he's able to put a pin in it, come back, revisit his own work, get the movie that he wanted to make. That's important for artists. That's important for a studio like Warner Brothers. That I read that article. My God, that sounded like a mess over there for Justice League.
Absolutely.
So with everything that happened, that's a whole show for another time. But that Justice League, his cut, I loved it. I'm glad that he's now seemingly on top of the world right now because of the goodwill with Justice League, his cut. Now we have Army of the Dead. What say you, chat? What did you think of Army of the Dead trailer? Are you excited like I am? Dave Bautista, yeah. It's just great. I recommend you watch it, Ben. It has a good flavor to it. It has a good feel to it. It has Kenny Rogers, the gambler, in it. So that should tell you everything.
Good song.
Yeah. So let's go on to our next topic because there's a lot out there. Now, I'm not a big, huge Star Trek guy, but when I see that they are dating a new Star Trek movie, I get interested because it is a franchise that people love. So 2023, we get a new release date set by Paramount. And the last movie that we have in Star Trek is Star Trek Beyond from 2016. So we got a big delay there. There's no other news about what this is. Are we picking up where we last left off with our J.J. Abrams crew of Chris Pine and Zachary Quinto? Or are we getting a new Star Trek? Or are we just dropping somewhere in Stardate, whatever, and it's a new crew and it's a new ship and it's a new fill in the blank? What say you off of this news?
Well, first of all, I'm assuming we don't think this is the Quentin Tarantino Star Trek movie.
Yeah, it doesn't say so here in this report that I'm reading. No, on that.
That'd be my first thought. My second thought would be, I think all the people involved in the 2016 Star Trek movie and in the Beyond universe with, it feels like the kind of thing where the studio might say, like, look, those movies were pretty successful. People liked them. We can roll the dice that people will like a new crew, but we can probably get away with one more movie to close out the thing. I mean, that's so often what happens is 5 years pass and they run back another Pirates movie, or they run back one more installment in the franchise because, I think the likelihood is, even if you take established IP, unless you're doing something explosive with it, with like just the coolest things, and you've got a whole huge vision and a great person involved, like 2023 is not very far. That's 2 years from now.
2 years from now.
For them to completely reboot it with all new people and do a whole thing, that seems kind of unlikely. They'd have to be in the casting, getting ready to shoot in the next 6 months phase on a movie of that size, and that just doesn't seem likely. So I'll bet you it's the 5th installment in the Chris Pine as Kirk saga, and this is the barometer of do they keep that one going, but it's probably the last one. That would be where my gut goes.
I think that's a good educated guess. Yeah, I'm reading this article here for my former company, Collider.com, and the writer here is saying they're hoping for a reboot route. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know where they are because all of that confusing kind of development. At one point we had J.J. Abrams producing, Chris Pine back, Chris Hemsworth, the father, going to be a part of the story for Star Trek 4, or the 4th installment of that Kelvin timeline that I guess happened for J.J. Abrams. So it was like, okay, more time travel, Chris Pine talking to his father, Chris Hemsworth, who was put on the map with that role in the 2009 version of Star Trek, which I loved so much. I really wanted to see that. Then it changed. Then all of a sudden it was like Paramount was like, F it. Quentin Tarantino has a Star Trek movie. And you're like, what? I wanted to see that more than anything. But I heard some Trekkies.
Star Trek?
Yeah. There was some Trekkies, though. Thad Williams, one of our, Thad, who ran Collider, who has helped us with a lot of graphics packages here at the GPA. I remember asking him, is Quentin Tarantino right for Star Trek? And he was like, no. There's something about Star Trek that it's just like, like Star Wars. Like, if Quentin Tarantino was signed on for a Star Wars movie, I'd be like, no, that's not right. So I kind of get it. But for me, that's not a huge Star Trek fan per se, other than the movies and some of the episodes. I just couldn't help but love the idea of Quentin Tarantino doing that.
There's just some part of it that makes sense to you. Yeah, that makes sense. I get it. There's a campy quality to Star Trek that I think Tarantino would use really well.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think this is him though. It feels like this would be a bigger. They would have used that in the announcement probably.
Oh yeah. If you want people talking about your movie for weeks, start speculating, start like following news feeds, getting alerts from Deadline or Variety or wherever you get your movie news. Quentin Tarantino doing a Star Trek movie, you're then wondering, who is he casting? Where does it fall in timeline? Right. All those things. So you're right. I think this might be more of a reboot. I think it's more of like, get Star Trek back in there. They must have a script, to your point, Ben Bateman. They have to be ready to go soon. They have to. Because 2 years from now, it's June of 2023. That is 2 years almost to the day. I mean, we got 2 years and 2 months, so to speak. So that's a year of production and post and shooting, a year and a half, 2 years almost. So we got to get there soon. So I imagine we'll do reshoots.
It's a whole thing, yeah.
J.J. Abrams is producing this. So does that change or color your opinion at all? Could we still get a new reboot, or is that even more, yep, that means we're getting Chris Pine and Zach Quinto. This is the 4th. It's going to be, that might be it. It feels that way.
Yeah, I think I get the feeling that it's going to be probably the returning cast again. I think that's what's going to happen.
I hope so too. So I do like that crew. I liked the story. I thought Star Trek Beyond was fantastic actually, and I hope they continue it. So with that cast. So what say you, chat? I have a lot of people saying please do. Yeah, they're going to have to recast a number of people, including Chekhov, for the untimely.
Yeah, rest in peace.
Yeah, Anton Yelchin. Just one of those horrible, horrible things. So we'll see. Noam saying Tarantino's Trek would be a return to the wagon train and the stars premise. You know what? That's not a bad thing. I love that. But we shall see. Star Trek, yay or nay on the reboot and or continuing on with the cast that we had set up in 2009. I'd love to hear from you if you're watching this, rewatching this, not live, but now. hit that comment section. And those in the chat right now, you can let me know how you're doing and what you feel about Star Trek. So, Ben, let's go to the next topic here. Let's go into it, actually. I want to talk about it with you because you and I, my friend, the last time I was at Arclight, I can't remember. I can't remember. When was the last time you were at Arclight? Arclight has just come out, that Pacific Theaters, the Grove, which is one of the places that I used to go to all the time for movies, and Arclight Cinemas, they're closing permanently. What did you think, Ben, when you first heard this news?
First of all, it took me about a day. Right? It was sort of today that I think it started to really sink in.
I didn't believe
that
it.
It was.
I was like, that's bullshit.
My whole theory with the way that theaters were going to go post-pandemic was the opposite. It was that all the little armpit theaters in small towns and the ones on strip malls in the valley, like all those types of theaters were the ones that were going to close.
Right.
That the luxury experiences would be the ones that would reopen, because that's what going to the movies would be about now. If you were going to go, you'd want to go somewhere nice. And I would have thought, but I mean, and like the Grove, both of them, I mean, that's just crazy, because those have to be some of the most profitable, high traffic theaters in the world, I would think.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we're not that far. We're just not that far from being at a place where we're going to be able to reopen. We're months away. I know it's been a long time, but it's like you'd think that, you know, with the news, with Godzilla Kong, I just sort of can't believe it. I think the last time I was at Arclight was the week the world shut down, and the last 2 movies I screened on Monday of that week, I screened The Hunt, that weird Damon Lindelof movie.
Right.
And that was at Arclight. I had Ben Goddard was my guest.
Okay.
Screened that on Monday. Tuesday, I screened Bloodshot at Century City. Wednesday, I was supposed to see My Spy. It would have been at the Grove. I didn't go to it. I went home, and then by Friday, the world was shut down. So I haven't been back to Arclight since.
Yeah.
That was beginning of March.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, man, I mean, I screened so many movies at Arclight in my life.
Yeah.
Just a ridiculous number of movies.
Yeah, Arclight. There was something that I realized that I love to do. I love going to press screenings. Don't get me wrong. I love going, hanging out with you, and going hanging out with, whether it's Christian or Mark or anybody that we work with, or doesn't matter, right? Love being there with my friends. But there's something about the opening night movie experience, just in general. Just going, getting your ticket, getting there early, paying the parking, getting there and being excited with just, I don't care who it is that's jumping in there. So every Friday I would love to do that with the big movies. Whether it's Godzilla Kong, Star Wars, Tenet, I'm just going through some of the big releases over the past year, that anything that can, Wonder Woman 1984, I would go to Arclight Hollywood. I would get there early. I would get a glass of wine at the bar, and I would talk to whoever was with me about the movie that I was about to see. I would lean over and be, "You've seen this movie too?" One of my favorite memories of Arclight Hollywood is showing up opening night for It, Chapter 1, and people dressed as Georgie, people dressed as Pennywise. I mean, Pennywise was having a shot at the bar before he went in to see It. And I'm right there with them going, yeah. That was Arclight for me. And boy, I saw that news yesterday and I went, that's bullshit. That's not happening. That can't be happening. And then today it's happening. And Scott Mance, our good friend Scott Mance, has retweeted. If you go to my Twitter right now, at Reilly Around on Twitter, you can see the retweet I did to save Cinerama Dome, which has been around longer than me. And it's the Dome. It's where so many movies were, and it's where Arclight became Arclight. So do you think there's any way that this is, like you said, Ben, this might change? That this...
Yes.
Yeah.
I do.
I'm going there too. Yeah.
And I think what's going to happen, because, you know, if you think about a space, if you think about a retail space or a commercial space, there's a lot of spaces that if you know, you clear out the cash wrap, a store, it can be anything. You can sell anything there. It can be any kind of event, whatever. You know, you rip out a few things and it is what it is. With a movie theater, you know, you have projectors and you have screens and you have all these luxurious seats, and the way the whole thing is laid out, the construction of a movie theater is so unique and specific that it can't really be used for anything else.
No. So
the only way to get rid of it is just to demolish it and rebuild something brand new.
Yeah.
Which you can do. Again, you can do, but like movie theaters are profitable. When movies are being released in the world, movie theaters make money because you're just printing money. People show up, they pay $15, $20 to go watch a movie.
Yeah.
So you got to think that people that actually have money, companies that have money right now, are looking at all of the closing theaters. And I was talking to Drew McQueenie about this earlier, but like he was saying that it scares him with the antitrust laws reverting, that the studios will just be buying the theaters. It'll be Disney, it'll be Amazon, and they'll be showing their own products, and Netflix. And maybe that's true. And if it's that or nothing at all, I'd prefer that. I hope it's not that. I hope it's AMC or somebody getting investment to be able to go in and take over more screens. You know, that's what I hope happens.
Yeah.
The Arclight one is baffling because, like, if I think about what theater in Los Angeles would I want to own, it's like, yeah, of course it's the Grove. Of course it's Arclight. Like, those are the best theaters. I would just buy the brand if I could. If I had the money, I would just try to buy the brand.
I would
because
too.
Like like those, when we're back to movies being open, those are social places that people want to go.
Yeah.
They're industry spots. They're like cool. They're associated with industry in Los Angeles that like is hard. It's very hard to create that. So I kind of think that we're going to get news here in the short term that at least a couple of those properties are getting bought. Maybe it's not the entire Pacific Theaters chain, but I mean, at least the like Sherman Oaks and the Hollywood and the Grove, like those properties feel like they would be purchased by somebody with money. I would have to think.
Yeah, I have this feeling that you said it too. We are so close. People are getting vaccinated. Things are opening. Kong versus Godzilla is showing the highest opening for a movie in the pandemic era. It's raking in some money. There are people going to movies now. They're opening up California in June. That's what they're saying, right? So we are. It seems like we're right at that edge. And so the Arclight news especially shocked me because it's like, well, aren't we there? Aren't we so close? So I do believe there might be a last-minute kind of thing that happens, whether it's a Brad Pitt that buys it or they find something. There is a movement happening right now online that I'm seeing that people are retweeting this thing. They know Arclight. They love it. It's movie theaters. It's our church, right, Ben? This is what we do. This is what we love. I think there are more people like that out there that want this.
I think so too, man. I mean, and again, like the people whose lives it is to make movies and get them into theaters have a lot of money. Producers, directors, actors, writers, movie stars are worth hundreds of millions of dollars. Brad Pitt's not going to be able to buy the whole chain himself.
No,
probably cost billions of dollars. But could Brad Pitt and some of his DiCaprio and these other guys who are friends and have lots of money, could they get together and buy some of these theaters?
Yeah,
probably. I would think so, and it would probably be something they would want to do.
Yeah. I think so. I think they do have the money for it. We'll see what happens. I think that there's more to this story. It feels strange to come out at such a close area to the having the vaccine.
That's the thing that I can't fathom, Reilly. That's the part that I just don't understand. Is if this was going to happen, you would think this would have happened 6 months ago.
6 months ago,
if
right?
If they held on this long to May, like or to April, but I mean, we're just about to be in May. Like we're just about to be at a point. We're months away from big movies opening. Mortal Kombat's about to open. Black Widow's months away.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't know how you wait this long to close your theater.
Yeah, that's what feels a little weird, and it's maybe there's a little bit of this in me where it's like they're close. Maybe they're hemorrhaging money. Maybe it's something that they wanted to make this announcement to get people excited so that maybe they can get some investors or like, see, there's going to be this many people wanting to come. Who knows? I just don't want to believe that they're gone, especially after this pandemic. LA was hit so hard. I mean, I went for a haircut a couple months ago, and literally a tumbleweed blew by me because of all the shops that had been closed. And I was just like, this is weird. And one of those big mainstays was the movie theater I was walking by at the time in downtown Burbank, AMC. I know they've had problems. AMC has been problems. They've said it, but they're still hanging in there. I like to believe that Arclight and Pacific Theaters will be there as well to hold on until the bitter end.
Regal's gone. I mean,
Regal's gone. It's a bummer of a thing because you did mention it, and it's like one of our last kind of news stories that I wanted to touch on. But there are so many movies coming, But they did push back Top Gun Maverick, and Mission Impossible 7 was delayed a couple years.
Yep.
Or a year, I should say, 2022. But Top Gun Maverick was pushed a little bit. So we have those big movies coming. I know they're moving some things around because the pandemic is still real, everybody. It's still happening. So they have to move some things around. But, you know, any kind of takeaway from the moving of Mission Impossible, the moving of Top Gun Maverick, it's just kind of normal, right? I mean, what else can we do? You're looking for the best window to get the most money. Theaters are closing now. You got to move some of these things around just to make the vaccines catch up with everybody that needs them.
I mean, the thing is, I guess everyone's probably in the same position where they're thinking we're going to delay these movies until there's at least some theaters open for us to release our movies into. But yeah, I mean, I think it's probably just studios saying we need to maximize our investment, and even if there are not that many theaters, we need people's like the sort of consumer confidence to have returned,
right?
For people to go to theaters. And it's not surprising. There's a lot of movies getting pushed, so they all have to kind of shuffle their dates around to figure out which weekends are which. But I think the positive here, the thing to take away from, is that like the laws of demand are such that if people want to see movies in theaters and give big studios their money to have them play their movies, then they will. And and even if it takes a minute, more theaters will open, right? It's just supply and demand. It's very simple. People want that, and studios realize that we can stream our movies to this many people, but if we also stream our movies and open them in theaters at the same time, we can make $500 million more.
Yeah.
Well, we need theaters to be open. Okay, we have money, right? Like, how does this happen? How do we get theaters to be open? So I think all those studios who are having those thoughts are also thinking about that. They probably have the same thought I have. Okay, this is eventually going to shake out in a way that's okay.
Right.
We have to get there first. We want to be closer to there when we start releasing these movies that we're spending these hundreds of millions of dollars investments.
Yeah.
They want to be at a place where they can make some of that money back and not take as much of a bath, which I think a lot of the studios are just going to lose a lot of money over the next year or two.
Yeah.
They already have.
Yeah. All that. I mean, they need the movie theaters, but this is something you bring up. The idea that we have streaming series and streaming services where they can now, I mean, HBO Max has been doing that. Disney's doing it. Where you can see it, you can have that choice. I believe that having the choice to go see a movie in theaters and or at home is great. That's an awesome thing. Some families, they can't drive all the way out because they live maybe somewhere that doesn't have a local movie theater, and they can do it at home, and they can save a lot of money maybe by not buying popcorn at Arclight. Arclight, if you do come back, change your pricing on the popcorn. That is like I had to pull out a loan just to buy your damn popcorn. But it's part of it. It's part of it. So we're just hoping that everything aside, Ben, I'm just hoping these movie theaters and these movies, we get some semblance back of normalcy, that we can go and it's opening night and we can go see a Mission Impossible effing movie live in a theater sometime. I hope that ultimately is what happens.
Yeah, you and me both, man. You and me both. I just miss that so much. It's just such an important part of my life that's not around anymore. I sort of can't believe it. I was telling this to Drew McQueenie, but I live real near the Arrow Theater, and it's walkable, and I think they're holding on. Vintage Movie Theater, they're gonna be opening relatively soon, and I'm gonna be vaccinated soon.
Nice.
So pretty soon, I'm gonna be able to walk. I'll be able to walk to the local Vintage Movie Theater, watch old movies in a theater seat, which I can't wait for. Cannot wait.
That's the thing. You know what? You bring up a good point, and something I think is great to mention as we are on our way out here on Good People, Good Movies here for this Tuesday at 4 p.m. Pacific when we go live. But that is the love of movies, and that is the love of going into a theater and being there and being with complete strangers, but having some sort of connection with them. I mean, I saw, Ben, I remember seeing Split.
Split, yep.
Spoilers, everybody, spoilers. I'm going to spoil the end of Split because it's an important story to tell. But the end of Split happens, and there's a post-credit scene that ties it together with M. Night's Unbreakable. We get the sequel Glass a couple of years later. But I remember watching that moment in the theater and being blown away by it and being so excited because it wasn't spoiled for me. And I literally just was like, oh, my God. And dude next to me, never met before in my life, goes, right? Just turns to me and goes, yes. And then he goes, she doesn't know. Points to his date or sister or whoever was next to him and goes, she doesn't know. She hasn't seen it. And I'm like, oh my God, you got to see this. And for 15 minutes, this perfect stranger and his sister and I all just gushed over the movie as the credits are rolling. And people are walking by going, what are you talking about? And we're like, oh, yeah, that's right. I thought he looked from it. And then all of a sudden, there's this conversation happening in the middle of the movie theater about a movie that we all loved and were jazzed about. That is the movie-going experience to me that I want back now, ASAP.
The communal experience, man. Yeah, I agreed. It's so important. It's such a huge thing.
Yeah.
I can't wait to have that back.
I can't either, my friend. And I'm glad to hear you're getting vaccinated soon. I'm glad to hear that, things are going well on your side of the world. And thank you very much, my friend, for joining me here on Good People's Good Movies and talking movies with me. Yeah. Please tease some of the stuff that's going. You have your new single out. You have a record coming. You have a tour coming. But you have other things going on. Please share with the Good People Association.
Yeah, that's really the big one for me is the album. It's the song. It's out now. I'll put the link to the YouTube video for it actually in the private chat here. You guys can put that on screen. And actually, anybody who's watching, if you guys want to do me a solid, if you just click the link and you go to the YouTube channel Nerds in Suits, where the lyric video is, just leave a comment on that video. Any comment, please, not a disparaging one, but any comment would be awesome. The more interaction on the video, the better it does views wise and all that. So that's out. The album will be July. Like I said, August is the tour. If anybody actually is interested in seeing the tour, that's a whole thing to get into. It doesn't matter, but I'll be touring. So follow me on Twitter, Ben Bateman Media, if you guys want information on that. And otherwise, action industry stuff. I do all kinds of stuff, the Schmoedown, but you guys probably know that. So I appreciate you having me on the show, man. It's super fun to talk movies with you.
Absolutely, my friend. I'm so glad to have you here. And I did put a link in the live chat right now, Nerds in Suits, that you can go over there. Why don't you subscribe while you're at it and check out the video and support Ben Bateman. Thank you, my friend, for joining. I appreciate you coming on here. Even though you're a dastardly one, a despicable person in the movie trivia Schmoedown, I still kind of like you. So thank you, my friend.
Of course, man. Thank you so much for having me, and hopefully I'll be able to have you on Something of Mine very, very soon.
I hope so, my friend. So for the rest of you, everybody for joining in here, I appreciate you guys checking out the Good People Association and Good People, Good Movies. Hit that like button if you haven't already. And remember, everybody that's rewatching this, what do you think of Indiana Jones 5? Do we recast after this movie that James Mangold is going to direct? Do we want to continue it somehow? I don't know what that answer is, but that was the main one. And then Arclight. Rest in peace. I hope not. We hope that Arclight will be back, and Pacific Theaters and theaters in general. So that's leaving you with that news. For the rest of you, tomorrow, the Positivity Report with Josh Macuga returns 9 a.m. Pacific here on the GPA, the Good People Association. And then later that day, 4 p.m. Pacific, is the GPA Live. That's our main show. Eric Bass from Schmoedown, our fourth partner, will, of course, be there. Myself, Ken Knapsack, Josh, as well as a host of other shenanigans that I don't even know yet. That's probably going to happen tomorrow. So please check that out here at the Good People Association. For the rest of you, be kind, be good, stay safe, and I'll see everybody tomorrow on the Positivity Report, 9 a.m. Pacific. Until then.